Welcome everyone to the July 15, 2025 council meeting. Prior to the session, we've got to speak. There. Should be good now. No, I'm gone. Oh. We've got our feedback stuff. We're good. Okay. All right. We'll try this again. Welcome to the July 15th, 2025 council meeting. Prior to the open session, council met for a closed meeting pursuant to section 239(2) and 3 of the Municipal Act SO 2001 C25 as amended. Council Corporation Town of Parry Sound moved to a special meeting closed to the public in order to address matters pertaining to B, personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, harassment of staff by a member of the public. C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land for municipal or local board purposes, requested by the gardeners to purchase land. E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or the local board, Parry Sound Area Municipal Airport. And that was everything. And there was some discussion about Glen and Victoria Avenue as well, an update on that. And that was held. As a reminder, this meeting is live streamed and recorded and available on the internet by visiting the Town of Parry Sound's website at www.parrysound.ca. And I'd like to acknowledge at this time that we're on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people under the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850 and the waterways traveled by the Métis of this region. At this time, are there any additions or prioritization of the agenda? No. Okay, may I have a mover and seconder for the agenda then? Councilman Can, Councilor Ashford. The agenda for July 15, 2025 be approved as circulated. All in favor then? Carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest for the general nature thereof? No. Okay. Mover and seconder for the minutes. Councilor Ashford. Councilor McCann. That the minutes from the regular council meeting of July 2nd, 2025 be approved as circulated. Any comments on that meeting? No. All in favor? Carried. Questions of staff? Councilor McCann, then Councilor Keith.
So I have two questions. The first would be for Mr. Kearns. Before your time here, there was a project between the town and Canada College with regards to a carpentry program in which there were gazebos that were built. One was placed at the corner of Great North Road and Seguin and Bow Street, and the second at Yvonne Williams Park. Someone was asking me, they said they thought they had noticed a third gazebo on the Canada property. And what was the story behind that one, and was there a destination? There's been a request that from the community church at the hub that they would like to, and they would pay for the moving expenses to bring it over to the property for the use of people who are there. So is there anything to that? Is there a third gazebo that was developed under that program? That's the first question.
Through your worship, I think as you alluded to, it was little before my time, so I'll have to do some investigation. I'm not certain on the status of the third gazebo. We can certainly reach out and find out.
And the other one is I've received compliments on the playground, replacements and upgrades and such. There was a question, there was a compliment on the handicapped, swing at the, Wagono Park Beach. Is there a possibility that the, similar infrastructure could be added to other parks? This party was wondering if it could, if you look forward to something like that at William Street, for instance.
Through your worship. So the company that put together the proposal for the playgrounds, assessed each of the areas throughout town and tried to add variable amenities through each of the playground installations. I can't tell you off the top of my head what the rest of the amenities are going to look like. The bases at each of the playgrounds were meant to be accessible for all. So that everybody, regardless of mobility challenges and that sort of thing, could access the entire area. It wasn't always possible to do the same or have the same amenities at each location, given the configuration, the footprint, the layout, all of those things. So when they were designing them, they took into account the available space, the area that and the configuration of the amenities. So the idea was to make them all accessible. They won't all have the same amenities, but the idea was that hopefully folks can access the different sites to enjoy the different amenities that are available.
Sure, that was my thinking too. Perhaps it's something that we could look forward to in the future. That's it. Thank you.
Councillor Keith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, my comment is for Mr. Cairns, and I just wanted to say, I know I'd asked before about the Cascade Street, the railroad crossing there, and how it certainly was causing myself and other people grief trying to get across those tracks, and I have to say, I feel I gave it my own personal standard examination in that I took my car over that track a number of times before I feel that I could personally give it a seal of approval. So it certainly is nice and smooth now, and we will hope that continues. So I'm hoping that when CN reaches out to you folks as to if you have any concerns that may well be, we can say something positive, and that sounds good too.
That's really your worship. I appreciate that. I wish we could, we're not going to take any credit for that, other than cooperating with CN and encouraging them to perhaps replicate what happened or what they put in at Forest Street. So I agree. I ride a motorcycle occasionally, and Cascade was not pleasant in the past, and it's a pleasant change. So we will certainly convey that to CN as well. We found that they've been very helpful and cooperative with most of the things we've been doing lately, so.
Thank you, and that would be my conveyance, and thank you never hurts, so I think it would be nice if they heard that from us. Thank you, but we're happy, at least at the moment.
Councillor Marmy?
Also for Mr. Cairns, Mr. Cairns, it's noticed that there's some lighting poles have been removed at the, I guess, the southernmost end of the fitness trail. And I seen today that we posted that section of the trail will be closed, I guess, for the foreseeable future. Could you better explain to the public why the work that's being done is required? And if you have some estimation as to a timeline as to how long things may be closed, it's probably helpful as well to start
Certainly, through your worship, so, and as you're all aware, this is, part of the infrastructure improvement for SPS number 2, which involves the reconstruction of Champagne Street, Birch, and Graystown Roads, along with the force main all the way to Switch Creek subdivision. Part of this work, during the design phase, we looked at how can we become more efficient in what we're doing, and part of that was separating the force mains from our 2 main pumping stations between number 6 and number 2. Further investigation, we realized we could eliminate a pump station. This is all on the Great North Road. We refer to it as number 13. We have the ability, because of the location of this new pump station, to obtain gravity flow from the residents along Great North Road into the new pump station number 2. So, I mean, there's advantages to us not having to maintain another pump station for sure. To get there, the most direct route is through the fitness trail. So part of the work, that's gonna be part of the construction for this $20 million project that we're working on. It is phased. There are challenges, obviously, given the fact that the harbor historically was used for fuel depots and oil storage. We know a bit of the history there. There were some accidents in the past and some soils that were impacted. So during the excavations, we have an allowance for contaminated soils with hydrocarbons, which is what comes from the fuel. And during that, when we discover soils like that during a construction project, we need to manage that as excess soil, and it has to be managed properly. So that means it has to be tested. So there's a bit of a gap when you find soils, which we have, not unexpectedly, frankly. And we require some lab analysis so that we know how to properly manage that. So there's a bit of a lull. In the interim, they asked if they could remove some of the light poles, because that section of fitness trail is technically within the construction zone, to allow them to keep moving forward. We want to make sure we don't lose any of the big hay while the sun shines, is saying the weather is conducive to construction work right now. So the removal of the light posts and the closure of that section of the fitness trail is required from a health and safety perspective. As we get started with the construction project, there's been a number of folks using the fitness trail in that section and ending up in the middle of a major construction project. There's heavy equipment, there's a lot of trucks. It's not a safe place for pedestrians, cyclists. Unfortunately, we've had some ATVs and side-by-sides cutting through the road closed signs, so managing pedestrian and vehicular traffic is always challenging in construction. So the hotel project too, I don't know, there was an announcement a little while ago about the building permit being issued. That's going to become a very busy location, almost directly adjacent to where we need to excavate. So we looked at it from a practical perspective, and the best place to cut off access to that extension of fitness trail into the harbor is basically at the Graystown Grain driveway. So we do have Parks and Rec staff. There is a trail, and a lot of people don't know it, but there is signage underneath the trestle that points the trail up the hill to the Tower Hill. It's been a little bit overgrown. The staff are going to concentrate on clearing that out, making it much more accessible too. So if folks are looking for a little bit more trail, it's a little more challenging with the topography, but you can make your way up the Tower Hill, which is in fantastic condition right now. With the grounds are doing wonderful. The weather's been great for growing things. So, but that section of trail will be inaccessible, and it's a health and safety. It's for the safety of the public and for the safety of the constructors as well. We want to make sure that we have a successful construction project that includes safety for all.
Yep.
The road of the pipe hasn't really changed dramatically, Mr. Cairns. It's simply replacing what's there and maybe enlarging it to some extent.
Sorry, or should I missed the first part of that.
Said the route of the piping hasn't changed dramatically.
So the change in the route is to get it from Great North Road down to the new pumping station number 2. So, I mean, it changes a little bit because of logistics and moving. Where the existing pumping station is closer to the top end of Champagne Street. Where the new station is obviously down closer to the water, which gains some fall, which allows us to run it by gravity to eliminate an entire pumping station over our system, which is something none of our staff are upset about.
Thank you.
Councillor Ashford?
Just a question for Chief Thompson. The newspaper, reported a situation, fire in, south part of town, recently, and you're quoted quite a bit in it. And I wanted to, it was kind of spliced up, just the nature of the newspaper to try to get as fewer words as possible, all those kind of things. But I wanted to ask if you could, give us a little bit of a lowdown. I guess there was a young person who had made some great decisions to make sure everyone was safe. And you outlined a few of the requirements for the fire staff, as they, volunteer firefighters as they're in there. If you could give a quick little outline of the situation and the good news of the young person and the different things you're kind of conveying on that newspaper.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure what's in the newspaper article, however, what I would like to do is celebrate the young woman who was in the apartment fire. She recognized that they had a fire situation. She was identified that by closing the door, it would help to contain that fire. She was able to get herself and her brother out of the building. They notified their downstairs neighbor who happened to be in the building. He made a 911 call. Early notification of the fire department makes a significant difference in the results. And in this case, virtually all the fire condition was contained to a single bedroom. There was some smoke spread damage to the rest of the apartment. Now, this was the apartment on the 3rd story of the building. Beyond that, there was no structural damage to the building. Everyone was able to get out safely. There was some water damage. Unfortunate thing is smoke and heat goes up, so that's great that the fire is on the 3rd floor. However, the water that's used to extinguish it, gravity pulls it down. So there was some water damage to the 2nd and 1st floor apartments. However, the building is not structurally damaged. Repairs should be able to be made fairly quickly, and for sure those people on the 1st and 2nd story should be able to get back into their homes relatively soon. It may take longer in the fire apartment. But I think it's really important to celebrate the young person who was able to make really good decisions, stayed calm, and did all the right things to help create a successful conclusion to that event. McDougall, our fire partners in McDougall, it was a Friday afternoon fire. Of course, during the summertime, our resources are limited. They were able to come and help us, and they need a round of thanks as well, because when we work together, it helps keeps all our firefighters safe. So everything turned out as well as it possibly could have, mostly due to the young lady's good decision making. So
Thank you, Thompson.
Okay. Any other questions?
I got one.
I was gonna say I was contacted. Oh, sorry, Councillor McDonald.
That's okay. For Mr. Thompson again, there was another fire that was the fire department responded to on July the 8th, Emily Street, and we've had some talks surrounding Lakeland Power's response times, and this one evidently was extremely prompt, and I just wondered if you could maybe kind of just give a brief synopsis of what happened.
through you, Mr. Mayor, it's been extremely busy in June and July for the fire department. We did respond to the Emily Street area. It was for a hydro emergency. You know, we've often been critical of Lakeland for their timing and getting to situations. In this particular case, they were actually on scene prior to the fire department being on scene. So I think it's, you know, important that we also celebrate the successes. So kudos for them for being prompt and getting there and being able to relieve our firefighters of the duty of babysitting the hydro line when there's some issues like that. Overall, I just want to mention that everyone has been EMS and fire have been responding to a lot of emergencies this spring, and these hot days are not fun days to be out there in uniform and working hard, so everyone's doing their part right now.
And we appreciate what they're doing. I was just gonna say, I was contacted by someone from the Legion, and I did forward some of it to staff about a request for a railing at the cenotaph. And I understand that it's been moved on to, the 2026 budget, so, I'm sure that they will appreciate that. Okay. Councilman Camp.
If I could just, before we go on, I think it's important to highlight and thank the Rotary Club, as one of many organizations in town that really steps up to the base to help out. You know, they've done so during COVID, and one of the members of the club initiated a GoFundMe page for the fire victims. So note the shout out of thanks to organizations like this that really keep things going.
That's all the questions. Okay, next is the correspondence, Mr. Harris.
Mayor, there's 5 pieces of correspondence. Tony Pigot, the Executive Director of Georgian Bay Aspiring Geopark. Glenn Robinson, suggestions for Bow Street parking. Office of the Prime Minister acknowledging Resolution 2025-046 in relation to federally funded scientific research. Jane Croswell supporting the Bow Street Farmers Market, and the Parry Sound Downtown Business Association Canada Day appreciation for the town's efforts in their efforts to put that event on. That was it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ashford.
I just wanted to ask, with the correspondence with the suggestions for parking, there was one spot that I hadn't seen considered before, and I wanted to know if it was something that would be worth investigating. Just having the property, I think it was formerly the Piddington residence there, that on the riverside that the town had to acquire after some kind of sewage malfunction or something at some point. It does look like there could be a couple parking spots there. And generally speaking, as a River Street resident, when it is tight there, it's only 2 or 3 cars that are an issue. So I didn't know if that was something we wanted to look into. I thought it was a good suggestion.
I think that's a really good idea. Yeah. Are you making that direction?
I can move that for sure.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Keith. All in favor of that direction? Okay, that's carried. Yeah, it is just a property sitting there. Why not, right? Yeah. All right, deputations. We have a deputation tonight from the Georgian Bay Association, Vision 2050 project. Welcome.
Good evening. Is Allison Needham in the room there, the council room?
Might want to click the microphone on there. Oh. Okay.
Now you can hear me, yes? Okay. Good evening. My name is Allison Needham. I am here on behalf of the Georgian Bay Association. I have been on the board of the GBA since August of 2020, and I actually just completed a contract as the interim executive director in May. But I remain on the board, and I am part of the steering committee for this project as well. I am the chair of our membership committee, and I have also served several years as the editor of our update newsletter. So heavily involved in Georgian Bay Association. And on the somewhere on the line is John Carson, and John is the chairperson of our steering committee for this project, Vision 2050. However, I'm the closest resident to the town of Parry Sound, or at least the closest cottager to the town of Parry Sound. So I have come in person today to talk to you about the project. Okay, so bear with me a sec. I think if I click, oh, here we are. Our mission is clear: to conserve and protect Georgian Bay's natural environment, ecosystems, and biodiversity in perpetuity. But this isn't just about nature for nature's sake. It's about sustainable, thriving communities, such as Parry Sound, that depend on Georgian Bay for their identity, economy, and quality of life. This vision aligns perfectly with your own official plan, which recognizes the coast as part of the UNESCO Georgian Bay biosphere and commits to protecting its unique character and ecological value. Let's be honest, Georgian Bay is one of Parry Sound's greatest assets. It drives tourism, property values, and investment. But it's under pressure: development, pollution, climate change, and those pressures will grow as the GTA population expands, expected to expand by 50% by the year 2050. Vision 2050 offers a proactive, collaborative way to protect this shared resource, keeping the bay healthy and keeping the town prosperous. Your own sustainable waterfront development plans show that you value this resource already. Vision 2050 simply builds on that commitment. And on a personal note, just like to say that I've been coming up to this area since I was 2 years old. I now have 2 teenage daughters who have chosen to spend their summers on the bay, working and enjoying everything that the area has to offer. And I want for their children and grandchildren to be able to enjoy the same. And this is really what this project is about. It's about protecting this place for future generations. Right now, Georgian Bay's protection efforts are fragmented and reactive. There's great work being done, the biosphere, provincial parks, and land trust, but there's no unifying plan that ties it all together or protects the coast long term. We compare that to such examples as the Greenbelt or the Niagara Escarpment, which benefit from coordinated regional strategies. Georgian Bay, we think, deserves the same. Vision 2050 offers something that will fill that gap, not with more bureaucracy, but with shared science-based principles, best practices municipalities can actually use, and unifying vision communities can help shape. Parry Sound, we're asking to get a seat at the table now as a way to shape that strategy from the ground up. Wait, was this one? Sorry, just I've gone too far. What happened to the one back? Oh. Oh, no, sorry. I'm sorry. Here. Okay. Apologies. We are in phase 1 of our working on phase 1 of our project. We're starting by getting that research right. We have brought in respected coastal and conservation planners to produce. We're bringing in planners to produce a discussion paper that will analyze the threats, especially the spillover of growth from Southern Ontario, map existing conservation efforts and identify gaps, propose a compelling integrated vision, recommend practical, realistic approaches for those municipalities. We are more than 75% funded, and several municipalities and NGOs are on board. Our objectives are clear and achievable. Build a coalition of municipalities, Indigenous communities, NGOs, and residents. Consult widely. Local voices matter. Expand conservation protections and make policies stronger and more consistent. preserve the natural and cultural heritage. This is about identity as much as ecology. Support sustainable communities. Healthy economies depend on healthy environments. Mm. I'm just having this. So far, we have engaged a number of sorry, let me start over there. We've engaged many municipalities up and down the east and north coast of the bay. We have done delegations to the townships of Georgian Bay, the archipelago, Carling, of which I was part of that presentation, Nemi, and to the municipality of Killarney. They've been all well received, and a few of these townships have appointed representatives to sit in our advisory committee. We are building great momentum with other stakeholders, such as the other Georgian Bay groups, such as Georgian Bay Forever, Georgian Bay Land Trust, the Biosphere, the Severn Sound. There's a number one, which I will list in more detail longer. We, sorry. Okay. I think that was it. Okay. One thing we are working on is working with First Nations. We are still developing our approach to engaging them in this work. We recognize that the First Nations play an important role in the wider Georgian Bay region. Their deep connections to this land and water are central to the area's history, culture, and future. This engagement must be respectful and collaborative, based on shared principles we develop together and rooted in mutual respect for sovereign jurisdiction. We are, as I mentioned, we're working with partners to ensure Indigenous communities are engaged early and meaningfully. This is again what I was speaking of earlier, and here is a list on the side of the screen, which is all the groups that we have presented to since, I think, in the last year so far. And as I mentioned, we have engaged many of these groups in the on our advisory committee and have had great success there and wonderful feedback and engagement from them. We are looking to continue this and collect input from this group as we work on the discussion paper. And we are here today as part of to ask that perhaps somebody from the town of Parry Sound would be willing to join us on the council as well. This is just an overview of where we are at, and we're still in a very early stages, as you can see. But things have been progressing well, and we're confident that things will keep moving at a good pace. And as I mentioned before, we would just like input from the town on how this can be best support your strategy to protect and preserve our natural environment. We'd like to ask that you appoint a town representative to participate on the advisory council and provide any input during the community consultation process. That's really much what mostly we're asking at this point. We are not here to ask for any financial contribution. We just would like Parry Sound to be part of this process and have a seat at the table for what we think is an extremely important project for the Bay. That is basically it. Questions I'm going to ask if you can ask John to join us to handle any questions here.
Okay. So you want to populate this committee that you have. Doesn't matter. We have a resolution or whatever to bring something back to council at another meeting. Does it matter whether it's a staff person or a member of council?
I believe we are looking for members of council. Yes.
You are looking for that. Okay. All right. Any other questions for? No? Okay.
Oh.
Sorry.
I was wondering the other gentleman on the line, if he had anything you wanted to add,
Oh, yeah,
or is
I think you would. How do I?
Well, we have several councillors from other municipalities on the council right now. I think it's important to know that we have the key people from the Georgian Bay Biosphere, Georgian Bay Forever, and the Land Trust on this council as well. Their input has been invaluable. And it's Greg Mason, actually, from the Biosphere, who's sitting on the council. And I'm sure you all know of Greg and his incredible background, not only as a planner, but as a conservation person. I just like to say that Parry Sound is obviously the most important town in the entire region, on the entire northern and eastern coasts of the bay. It is the service center for the region. And we think it's very important to have the town's views as part of this process, because there are a lot of areas that are primarily natural that are represented, but this project cannot just be about natural assets. It also needs to be about communities. And that's why it's important to hear from municipalities like yours.
Thank you. All right. So while you're here, I mean, we do have a resolution here. It's moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Ashford. The staff be directed to report back to council with respect to the 3 requests of the town from the Georgian Bay Association. Any discussion on that? All in favor then? And that's carried. Unopposed. So we'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Are the meetings by Zoom or are they?
Yes, we are
Okay.
by Zoom. Yeah. John, how often is the council currently meeting?
Yeah.
Well, they're meeting a little bit. We've just had 1 or 2 meetings so far, so we're just getting started. But as it's an organizational time, there have been, I guess, more frequent meetings. But we're really only looking in the longer term for meetings every couple of months to every quarter. So it won't be a huge time commitment. I wouldn't say.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
That's good to know.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's everything. I don't see any other questions. So thank you very much
Okay.
for your presentation.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for your time. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Okay,
Thank you. Yeah.
bye. Thank you.
Yep. All right, reports. We'll start online with Councillor McDonald yep, there he is. Okay.
Thank you, Worship. I'll be short and sweet. On July the 4th, I attended the William Street Park playground opening. It's another great park, the second of 5, I believe, we're doing in the town of Parry Sound. And it's great to see the use that it's getting already. And we're looking forward to seeing Cherry Street next. July the 9th, I attended the DBA meeting, monthly meeting. Talk surrounding parking review and to keep exploring parking options in the south side of the downtown district and along Great North Road. And on July the 13th, I attended the poutine feast that was being held at the Market Square Park. And they were there for 4 days. And I believe it was a great draw for the town. Seemed to be a lot of people out, a lot of families, and the weather was phenomenal. So another great weekend and another great event. And there were a lot of great events that happened over the weekend, this past weekend as well. So great job to all the volunteers and people that put all that together. And it's been a great summer so far in Parry Sound. That's the end of my report.
Good. Thank you. Councillor Borneman.
Thank you, Worship. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to join Councillor Keith in thanking CN for the work at both Cascade and Forest Street. Those are really nice improvements, and the materials used look like they should be pretty durable, should last quite a long time. Yes, Councillor McDonald mentioned the Poutine Fest and also the hospice car show Saturday. I think the car show gave us a real nice indication of the value that the Salt Dock property might have in future for us in executing different events along the waterfront. It was well done. I thank Mr. Cairns and his staff for laying out a bit of a parking grid there. I think it helped keep things under control, but I could see that area morphing into something more in future. Numbers at the airport are up across the board. There are more flights in and out, larger airplanes, fuel sales are up, and the cafe has been busier than ever. All good things. At Belvedere, construction is well underway. Our new administrator, Joel Pendant, is now on the job. Joel brings a big smile, a positive attitude, and a wealth of experience. I think he'll serve the home and its residents well into the future. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Kami Johnson, our outgoing administrator. She's returned now to the West Parry Sound Health Center. Kami did a remarkable job in shepherding Belvedere Heights through COVID. Through her tenure, staff grievances have been reduced. Resident complaints have been minimized, and she's brought a can-do attitude to the entire institution. She's always looking for ways to improve process. So I expressed my heartfelt thanks to Kami for the work that she did at Belvedere during the past 5 years, and that's my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor McCann?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and fellow councilors, staff and public. As well on Friday morning, the 4th of July, along with other councilors, town staff and the installers and 2 excited little girls, courtesy of Councillor Ashford. I attended the official opening of the William Street Park. Like the Wabano Beach Park Playground, this installation is new, it's modern, it's been developed to encourage physical exercise, imagination, and of course, fun. Another shout out to April McNamara, Manager of Parks and Recreation, her staff, and the company that put this in. Had an opportunity to meet and talk with some of the installers briefly, and a great group. Tuesday morning, July 8th, I attended the official groundbreaking ceremony launching the construction of the new pump station number 2 near the Champagne Street boat launch. This event marks and subsequent construction will pave the way for more housing, protecting Georgian Bay, building a more resilient Parry Sound. And so we're looking forward to great things with that. And of course, that project in collaboration with Archipelago Township. Then, of course, my wife and I on Sunday afternoon, the 13th, we attended the Poutine Fest. Check it out. Lots of vendors, lots of people, and running for 4 days. It seemed to be very popular. A lot of poutine recipes available to try out, and we hope to see them back again next year. And just finally, coming up this week, the Waterfront Advisory Committee meeting will be meeting tomorrow evening here in Chambers. We'll be looking at the Waterfront Master Plan one more time. And Thursday, we have a museum board meeting, and we're looking at rebranding, and that's something to look forward to in the coming months as we study our options and market the museum on Tower Hill. And that's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Ashford?
As mentioned, I had a great time at the William Street Park opening and groundbreaking for Pump Station 2. The parks and that new pump station are pretty exciting projects for us, and they took quite a few people from all over. Some people from even the West Coast flew in for the groundbreaking there at Pump Station number 2. After that, I wanted to bring up my my oldest daughter was her birthday on the day that she's, Daddy, why you gotta go to a sewer pump station today? But she was all excited for something that I think maybe sometimes Prairie Sounders take for granted. She wanted to go on the Island Queen for her birthday, and she just had a riot. And I recommend to anybody, if you haven't been on it for a while and it's starting to kind of blend into the background a bit, from her eyes, this was one of the greatest things you could imagine. And we go out on the bay. It's not like she hadn't seen the same islands before, but she just loved it. And Tuesdays they do a special trip up the North Channel, and it was just kind of a wonderful experience for her to run about. And I'd say if you're thinking for something to do in an afternoon, it's not all that much money. It's a real great little trip. In addition, we've been going through the town swimming lessons program, and one of my daughters has a couple extra challenges when it comes to learning, and she doesn't like to stay still and has different things like that. So we've done private lessons in the past, but this year we thought we're kind of at a point where we can do it. And I have to say, it has been quite amazing, the staff down there at the town, especially one gentleman named Campbell. He's at a put my 3-year-old on a little timeout for potty talk when they're out in the water. And they're a little too far out, they can't quite hear, but he is handling those little 3-year-olds. He's got a crew of 3-year-olds out there, teaching them to swim and do all the different things. And Helena, who's taking some of the older ones, has just been doing a great job. That one of the rules is when you're little, you got to put your face underwater. And both my girls just dread it, and they're waiting for it. You can see the kids, and the way that these two handle it, they don't even know that it's coming, and they're kind of excited. At the end of it, I say, did you put your face underwater? "Oh, I did a lot," and they're quite excited. So please, if you're ever interested in swimming lessons, they got another round coming up. Do that town swimming lesson program, because I have to say that staff is just doing phenomenal out there. As mentioned a bit too, we had the Poutine Festival there, another great one. And I think what I heard was having it there at the park was probably better than ever. Like, it worked out pretty good. You had a lot. You still could have more shade. It just seems like every year we have the Poutine Fest or Canada Day, it seems always a little too sunny. But there's a lot more shade than there had been in the past. A lot of different vendors, and the setup there was just great with the inflatables and all the different things to do, have fun and play. And then there's also was that same weekend was the Doc Rob fundraiser, where I think there's up to, at first there's 54, but I heard even 59 boats, and some showed up on the day of. We're out there raising money for mental health, and they required the use of boat launches. So that conflicted a little with the hospice fundraiser as well down at the Salt Dock, which kind of brings me, and tons of volunteers, all kinds of stuff happening with that too. I couldn't believe the community spirit I was watching. But that really brings me to Mr. Kearns here, our own Mr. Kearns, who I would say this would not have been able to all happen had Public Works and Mr. Kearns not been going above and beyond to make sure that, given Champagne Street was closed, we were focusing more on the Salt Dock. Given all that kind of has been happening, they were able to get out there, get lines painted, get everything set up for this to happen. And if it hadn't, it probably would have been a nightmare had they not been planning, thinking, and working to these kind of things. And Mr. Kearns and one of his children were there at 6:30 in the morning that day. I did not get there that early as one of the organizers and volunteers for hospice, but Mr. Kearns was there, and I really think we should celebrate him because it was quite an early day. He had a street sweeper ready to enter, one of the electric SUVs, and the little electric trail truck that they run around, and he had them all set up there, had them all opened, and was explaining stuff to people to make sure all that happened. And again, like I don't know how all the different paychecks and times and hours work, but I'm pretty sure Mr. Kearns didn't get paid for that. From what I was watching, it was just something that he put his extra time in to come early and do all those things to make sure that all these different events that happened in town were successful. So that was kind of the main thing I wanted to do, is just thank Mr. Kearns, and please pass it on to the rest of the team that helped to make all that happen too.
Thank you. Councillor Keith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councilors, staff, and the public. I only have a few things to report. I again attended the Pearl Mist when the ship came in to welcome visitors to our community. I also have assisted again with fundraising for Harvest Share. I find it kind of a fun event doing this. And although one can always learn from it, but I certainly enjoy helping them raise their funds. I also too attended the picture taking, the grand opening of the William Street Park, but I've been going to every one of the playground parks since the contractors have come to the community, and I was there at the various ones today. And I have to say, to see any contractor working this afternoon in the heat is really remarkable in itself. And I understand for the Cherry Street Park, the insulation or that goes underneath the floor pad seems to be in some truck somewhere being driven around, but we hope that it's going to make it to Cherry Street Park soon, because certainly the rest of the park is ready to roll. And even at the Booth Street Park, it's really nice the way the planning has been done for each park, being geared for youth of different age levels. And it's really something to see, because there's a lot of interesting equipment there that one can easily check out. And I think, we're really lucky to be in a community that has a number of playground parks like this. And I think it's really also amazing to think that the Wabano Beach Park is being used so well that there's been lineups, and actually around the 10 spin, there's a path being worn. And I understand that is not the usual of so many children there every day, to go from roughly what was anticipated in most parks to be roughly 100 youth in a week. And it seems there we're averaging 100 youth a day. So it really does say that we have done a fine job of getting the right equipment up there, and having youth really wanting to be involved in that park. And of course, when people are using that park and everybody's enjoying themselves, therefore desiring to eat and purchase more snacks, that's a win-win for our community too. So I think that's really great. Also, I partook of the Poutine Festival, and the last thing I would say is I went up today again to see Tower Hill, and I understand the volunteers had been up this morning doing mulching for a number of hours, as well as April McNamara. And I have to say, if anybody hasn't been up there recently, the floral displays, it's really beautiful up there. And actually, on a hot day like today, it actually is a quite shaded area, and that is actually cooler if you're not a swimmer and you didn't want to go down to the beach. I'd say Tower Hill is where you need to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Council staff and public, the opening of William Street Park was, the playground equipment was already mentioned. July 8th, is also mentioned too, the groundbreaking ceremony for pumping station number 2. Our MPP Graydon Smith was on hand, as well as representatives from the construction company, Tatham Engineering, Greystone Developments, and Bert Leverance, the Reeve of the Archipelago, along with some of their counselors and staff. And some of our staff, as well as members of council, were on hand as well. This project opens up an area of town for further development, and certainly the funding for this from the province is greatly appreciated. July 9th was the Municipal Services Board meeting for the Tamarack North Center. The project is still on track in construction timeline and cost, which is a good thing. July 11th, after work, I went down to the Poutine Fest, and there was lots of people around, and I was amazed at the different varieties of poutine recipes that they had there. It was really something else. Anyway, July 12th, I attended the Cruisers Car Show held at the Salt Dock, which was a fundraiser for hospice. And I'd certainly congratulate them on their efforts and the work that they put into to that event. And that's my report.
Item 911, moved by Councillor Can, seconded by Councillor Borneman. The council received the report Town Dock Operation 2026 and support the following actions. Current year-round and seasonal mooring tenants be extended contracts at the 2025 plus CPI rate for the 2026 season. 2026 transient rates, including cruise ships, be set at the 2025 plus CPI rate for the 2026 season. The installed day docking floating docks be provided to visiting boats complimentary, and that staff put in place the appropriate regulations for maximum 4-hour parking and no overnight parking at the floating day dock area. Staff explore the options for seasonal harbor master position and that would manage the town dock, and that operations be provided for council consideration during the 2026 budget process. Staff negotiate new agreements with Northern Perk and Harbor Walk Shops. Discussion. Councillor McCann?
Yeah, I'm excited about this, being on the Waterfront Advisory Committee. This is, moving forward with plans that the town council has with the town dock. I guess I'm curious, I guess I would ask Chief Thompson, what is the position of harbor master going to look like? And is that something is that a full-time thing? It's a seasonal thing? How does that fit into to the plans?
Through Mr. Chairperson, that particular request is that we bring forward a concepts for budget deliberations. So we do need to flesh this particular item out a little bit more. We've visited Jeff and I, Jeff Tom, the Economic Development Officer, and I visited Midland, and we could see significant differences, improvements that they have at their facilities than we do. They do have a seasonal harbor master. That's where our thought process had gone to. With that in place, the experience is most definitely enhanced with regards to the condition that the facility is kept in, the interaction with the users, management of the facilities overall, are vastly improved at that location as compared to what we have at the town dock. And I think staff believe that we want to see an enhancement of the experience that visitors have going to the town dock. If that is going to come to fruition, we need to look at ways how we're going to manage those improvements. We think that this could be one of those solutions. Again, this report's not asking you to approve a position tonight. What it is getting approval from you to explore the options and bring them to council through the 2026 budget process. The position will also be looking after the cruise ships and a bunch of things like that moving forward in the future. So there's a number of tasks that are happening down there. Also with the Seawind Parkette, without having a tenant at the Seawind Parkette, it is going to be rolled into a need to have that facility managed, and how Parks and Rec is going to roll into that needs to be explored a little bit as well. So there's a number of things with regards to how the management of those two facilities are going to work next year that we need to assess, come up with recommendations, and bring to you through the 2026 budget process.
Oh, that's great. And as a sidebar, was happy to see all of the harbor shop walks open one particular afternoon when we were down, just taking in the atmosphere. So this is very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. And thank you.
Councillor Ashford and then Councillor Keith.
Just piggybacking a bit on Councillor McCann's comments, I was just wondering how, if we will be kind of consulting the current operator and the different tenants and stuff with this position and how it all works, because we're already seeing quite a bit of innovation and enhanced kind of experience down there. While we still have George on the hook, are we going to be kind of reaching out and seeing the different aspects that they'd be, or the different perspectives that they might be presenting to this as well?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, most definitely. I have interacted with George extensively in the past, especially in the past 3 years, and more so as we've moved into this transition in terms of getting his thoughts and ideas, and also finding out what the challenges are with the facility. Of course, he's running it in a different capacity. It's as a for-profit thing to him, and I think that when we move forward and the town takes over, it's going to be a different approach when we're looking at it more from the town operating it. But most definitely interacting with George as well as the coffee shop has been a roaring success. And I was down there today and I was absolutely amazed with how many people were sitting in the amphitheater having coffee and sitting at the coffee bar. And then the interaction with what's Harper Walk Shops going to look like in the future. It's been growing, and I also have noticed this year that there have been days when it actually seems quite vibrant. I know that there are challenging days as well, rainy days, days when there aren't as many people around that are challenging for the vendors in that location. I think consultation with all the people who are involved, finding out what's working, what's not working, and what their ideas are that could make it better in the future are going to be important with how we move forward.
Thank you.
Councillor Keith?
Thank you. I think some of Mr. Thompson's comments regarding the harbor walk shops are certainly is of interest to me because as indicated, sometimes it has been bubbling, but also, for example, there's one day in the week where I've been down more than once and I've been told that, you know, some of the vendors prefer during the week one of the days not to be operating. So I'm just kind of wondering, will all those kind of matters will be taken into account when you're looking at the future of the operation down there?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, most definitely. I mean, when we brought the concept first forward to council, there were a number of those issues that were discussed. I think that we have 2.5 years now of experience that are going to help inform what things are going to look like moving forward and what works and what doesn't work. Again, I mentioned that I know that there are challenges, and are there things that can occur that would assist in overcoming some of those challenges? So those are conversations, and some of them might be difficult that we're going to have with the principals of the Harbor Walk shops and to determine what it looks like moving forward. And if we can work out something that's mutually beneficial, then it would be coming back to council for approval.
Anything else? All in favor then? That's carried. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Councillor McDonald,
I I couldn't get my
Sorry.
microphone off mute quick enough, but I just had one comment or one question to ask regarding our current harbor master. What's going to happen with that position, because we do have a current harbor master right now.
So currently our harbor master is solely looking after cruise ships on cruise ship days. I think we are seeing a role that's going to be much bigger than that. And that's the sort of thing that's going to have to be fleshed out and presented to council and determine if that's the direction that the council wants to move in. And you know, the other thing that will have to be decided through that process is what are the goals to be achieved? And if they are a significant increase to the quality of the experience, then the resources that are pushed towards the facility are going to have to be, you know, addressed and determined what are the suitable resources required.
We're good? Councillor
Yep.
McDonald?
Okay, yep.
Okay, all right. I'll call the question again. All in favor? I think that's carried. Well, I could put them over there, but Moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McCann, that council approved the 2025 second quarter progress report on the town's key performance objectives, otherwise known as KPOs, as set out in Schedule A. Any discussion? Councillor Keith?
Yes, thank you. I just had one question, and that is in reference to the mat. And I'm wondering, because I know there was a record of involvement in Maytime, but I'm wondering if since then, has there been any further development with the West Perry Sound Economic Development Collaborative as it strategizes with the tourism strategy. So is there anything going on there, or are we still waiting for another meeting or more discussion, et cetera? Thanks.
Through the mayor, I think, so something will come forward to council on the tourism strategy project as that gets going. So it's still in preliminary discussions. The idea is to somewhat develop what the objectives of the MAT would be, like the recommended uses of the funding. So kind of the action plan before coming up with how we would administer getting the MAT and doing all that background work, so that people can see what the potential positives of the program are. And then that would involve engagement and consultation through that process. So expect something to come forward to council based on that. When, I don't have a timeline. I'll report back to council after connecting with the economic development and the manager of revenue and taxation on when they can expect that to come forward.
But would it be fair to say maybe this year?
Yes, it's in this year's budget, so through the chair, mayor.
Ms. Phillips has been extremely busy with the Tamarack North Center. So, and everything that's been going on with that. So I wouldn't want to push her too hard on the other one right now, but I know she's got it on her plate. It's just that right now it's very crucial for what's going on. Councillor Borneman.
Not everyone has access to the full report, so I'm wondering if Mr. Harris or someone else wants to take a stab at giving the public kind of an update as to where we are here with the Coles Notes version of it.
Through the chair to Councillor Borneman. It's a lengthy report. There's a couple of things that I'd like to highlight. In addition to the KPOs and actions taken to move them forward, there's a development statistics page, and I find that always interesting to look at. We track housing as an issue for Parry Sound and the surrounding communities. So one of the things we track in that quarterly statistics report is how many building permits have been issued for residential units. If one building permit was issued for a 10-unit building, we'd count that as 10 because you're creating 10 units. In all of 2024, there were 13 units created. In the first 6 months of this year, 25 units have been, building permits have been issued. So there's, those are, obviously going to happen in the next year or two and whatever time it takes to have them constructed. But there's a lot of residential units that are being added over the last few years, adding to the housing supply. And we did a report to council back in November of 2024. At that time, over a 4-year period, there were 213 units added. And it wasn't all condominiums and it wasn't all single family homes. It was a mix of rental apartments. I believe about a third of them were. So there's a mix of housing being created, and that's just important to see. And the staff and council are putting in all the infrastructure projects to make it happen. And if you drive around town, there's a lot of construction going on, and it all adds to to a number of things, but one of them importantly is adding to the number of housing units. It's been mentioned tonight, the Pump Station 2 project, with the groundbreaking last week. That's going to open up that southern side of the harbor to development, the hotel, all the development that can happen on the former Shell property, as well as the Imperial Oil property. So there's a lot, that's going to be the catalyst for a lot of development. The other thing, to fund a lot of the growth that the town has to pay for, a couple of years ago, the town introduced two things. One was development charges, and the other, relating just for water and sewer, was water and sewer fees and charges, we refer to it. Since so we've collected 832,000 this year, or over these years, for fees and charges. That's to help fund the water and sewer repairs and new construction that's required. And I just see for the first time, we've collected $70,000 in development charges. Development charges, it's a tool that's available to communities to collect, to pay for growth, pays for growth, but the province has been given so many exemptions and has really made it difficult to collect much money through development charges. So we've only collected 70,000, but it's starting. There were a lot of exemptions that are now, they're expiring in some cases. So between the two, we've collected almost 900,000 in monies that avoid putting it on the backs of the taxpayer and avoid using debt. So that's a good news story.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor then? That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McCann. Whereas democracy is healthy when everyone is able to participate fully and safely and contribute to the well-being of their community. And whereas we are witnessing the disillusion of democratic discourse and respectful debate across all levels of government and in neighboring jurisdictions. And whereas Ontario's municipally elected officials are dealing with increasingly hostile and unsafe work environments facing threats and harassment. And whereas social media platforms have exasperated disrespectful dialogue, negative commentary, and toxic engagement, which desensitifies individuals, especially women and candidates from diverse backgrounds, from running for office. And whereas better decisions are made when democracy is respectful and constructive, and the voices of diverse genders, identities, ethnicities, races, sexual orientation, ages, and abilities are heard and represented around municipal council tables. And whereas the Association of Municipalities of Ontario Healthy Democracy Project has identified concerning threats with fewer people voting in local elections and running for municipal office. And whereas in 2024, female elected representatives from across Halton formed a group called HER, Halton Elected Representatives, which pledged to speak out against harassment and negativity in politics and call on elected officials to uphold the highest standards of conduct. And whereas HER, Halton has launched a campaign called Elect Respect to promote the importance of healthy democracy and safe, inclusive, respectful work environments for all elected officials that encourages individuals to participate in the political process. And whereas on June 5th, 2025, the Canadian Association of Feminist Parliamentarians launched a nonpartisan parliamentary civility pledge to encourage all parliamentarians to commit to end workplace harassment and increase civility on Parliament Hill, modeled after the pledge developed by Halton by representatives of HER. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Parry Sound Council supports the elected respect pledge and commits to treat others with respect in all spaces, public, private, and online, reject and call out harassment, abuse, and personal attacks, focus debate on ideas and policies, not personal attacks, help build a supportive culture where people of all backgrounds feel safe to run and hold office, call on relevant authorities to ensure the protection of elected officials who face abuse or threats, model integrity and respect on holding one another to the highest standards of conduct, and that the Town of Parry Sound Council calls on elected officials, organizations, and community members to support the Elect Respect campaign and to sign the online pledge at www.electrespect.ca, and that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, Ontario Big City Mayors, Federation of Canadian Municipalities, Parry Sound Muskoka MP Scott Aitchison, Parry Sound Muskoka MPP Graydon Smith, the Ontario Provincial Police, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Any discussion? Councillor McCann?
A couple of years ago, I wrote a letter to the editor with regards to respect and for people who are in office, asking for to be given the benefit of the doubt and a little bit of respect for what what basically we're dealing with. When I ran for council in the first term, I was surprised at how when you don't know as a layperson, things look pretty black and white. But when you're on council and you start to learn about things, you realize there's a lot of moving parts and it's very complex. And one of the first things, one of the most controversial things that I recall, this is back in 2015 when council decided to remove the public transportation. And it wasn't working, and there were a lot of good reasons that we couldn't make it work. But basically, sometimes the province has our hands tied, and there's only so much that we can do. And I like to make the comment that there's always a good reason for something stupid. So if the public thinks that we've made a dumb move or something, you have to understand and that there's a lot of moving parts and you're just seeing one side of the weigh scale. And so I think that goes, they talk about education to improve the world. And I think in this case, it would certainly would help garner much more respect and consideration for people who are sitting at the table here who are just trying to make the world a little better.
Anything further? All in favor? That's none opposed. That's carried. Thank you. Oh, Councillor Borneman and Councillor McCann seconded. Okay. Moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McCann, that the Council for the Town of Parry Sound hereby receive the West Parry Sound OPP Detachment Board Annual Report 2025 for information purposes. Councillor Keith, do you have anything you want to highlight on this report, please?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to try to give a brief synopsis of this annual report for the West Parry Sound OPP Detachment Board. I should say right from the beginning that the Ontario Community Safety and Policing Act was passed in 2019 and came into effect April 1st of 2024. The board was formed October 16th, 2024, and this being the first annual report really runs to the month of May 2025. This is a whole learning experience, I would say, because there's a lot of regulations involved. So we'll be adding more information in further reports. And I think it's important for folks to know the composition of the board is the Henby Inlet First Nation and the townships of Carling, Municipality of McDougall, McKellar, Seguin, Archipelago, Whitestone, and of course Parry Sound. There will be 2 additional members jointly appointed by the member municipalities and First Nations. And there will also be 2 members that will be provincially appointed by the provincial minister. Neither of that has happened. However, we are still in the working stages and have prepared the report that's before you tonight. I should add that of course, there's needs to be administration functions, and that is now being supported by the chief administrator, officer, municipal clerk, and treasurer, which is from Carling. So we have the support there of the Carling Township for that role. Also, we do plan to develop a record management and retention policy and organize a filing system in reference to administration and information technology. The board meetings on the whole are 4 times a year. They're at the council chambers, 7 p.m. at night. However, there has had to be special meetings called because of a budget had to be developed as well as this annual report. I should relate that the appointed board members do require a criminal record check. And also they have to complete mandatory training and further take an oath of affirmation and further training after that also. So that gives you an idea that only that board member who's appointed by a municipality can go and represent the municipality because of the requirements in advance. As I said, board meetings are held quarterly and they are hybrid meetings so that can accommodate both distance and making sure that we do our best to get people attending those meetings. The strategic plan that the OPP have provided really started in 2023 before this act came into effect and before the board was the West Parry Sound OPP Detachment Board was functioning. And that strategic plan will run until the end of 2025. So then we'll have a fresh look at it then. The communications involved in board meetings include the agendas and minutes that are posted at present on the McDougall web page, but we are intending to get our own detachment board web page so that you'll be able to go direct to that. The board has expressed strong support for the crisis mobile response team, and I'm sure you remember the time that there was a deputation here because certainly that is really helpful to people in a community having a mental health worker because they at times we also require compassion and appropriate support for the concerns of a citizen in the community while still providing a safe environment for all of us in the community. The financial situation with a number of 7 municipalities and First Nation is shared equally, as well as we have liability insurance. And I think I've given you an idea anyways of our future plans because there's a lot of development that has to occur in that new strategic action plan, remuneration of the provincial and community representatives. And we need to make sure that we're having a clear and concise and communication involved. The OPP, because there was a lot of this is quite a detailed annual report still for our first one, and the OPP's strategic plan, which would have actually been prepared before the detachment board was created, is attached there in the last year of the plan. But what is important is because this is all of what we're doing now for a strategic plan is recognizing the value of the employee, of trying to have the best service can be available, and a vision for safety and well-being of all in our community. In the last, well, it's a little over a year, but the OPP have seen an increase in illicit drug safety and excuse me, an illicit drug activity and they have responded with targeted enforcement. Traffic safety also has been targeted, including dangerous and impaired driving, and there's been a 50% decrease in that area. There's been an increase in the town of Parry Sound with community patrols downtown, and I'm sure one recalls some time ago that we had a committee that was established downtown to assist in how we could make all citizens safe in our community when they were downtown, but at the same time assisting with helping those that are in need, how we can best help them and keep everybody safe. Certainly, we've seen some improvement with the type of technology that the police also have, including the in-car cameras would be one example. I spoke already a moment ago about the mobile crises response person that has been we have hired them again, and it was with the support of the municipalities for another year. And hopefully that program is going to continue permanently so that we're not looking for grants and support each year, because it's certainly a very important program. And the one other area that is a focus because I'm trying to minimize what we're doing here, so, because the whole report is on the website and is on the as it would be as it is also on the town website, is the offender management program is another area that the police certainly are working at, so that we can have a safe community. And it's involving targeting individuals which have a high risk of reoffending, and it's using evidence-based strategies. I would say that the action plan, the strategic plan and the action plan for 2026 to 2029, that'll be a 3-year plan that will come forth, but that will be discussed with the detachment board, because the board has input into that. And again, that plan, once it is established, will be on the website. So I think it's clear to say that reducing harm and victimization, ensuring safety, education, having programs that can assist people in the community, for example, the Anti-Fraud Center, and also the OPP being involved in a First Nation communities and strengthening that relationships. These are all areas that they're focusing on. There's statistics at the end to show with a comparison between 2022 and 24 of clearance rates. And I think overall, that gives you a rough idea of what the OPP are doing. But I would say on the last page, I think it's important to also in that report, their strategic plan report, when it talks about the policing hours, and it shows you a breakdown of the constable's activity in that calls for service 40.5%, the administration time required 38.6, proactive patrol 17.9, and community engagement 3.0. So there's a lot of factors that go into play in respect to policing hours and how policing is done. It's not 40 years ago, how sometimes people think that's the way, why can't it be the same? But time has moved on. They're working at having a wellness sort of service delivery model so that the community is involved, so there's more of a balance, and at the same time we can have a safe community. So that's it, I think, in a very big nutshell. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Ashford?
I just wanted to commend Councillor Keith for putting so much work and time into this committee and this board, that it truly makes a tangible difference to our ratepayers every day. Thank you so much, Councillor Keith.
Yeah. Any other questions? No? All in favor then? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Keith, for that report.
You're welcome.
Moved by Councillor Ashford, seconded by Councillor Keith. Whereas proposed U.S. tariffs of a combined countervailing and anti-dumping duty rate of 34.45% threatens the Canadian softwood lumber industry, of which many Northern Ontario municipalities rely upon. Now, therefore, the town of Parry Sound supports the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities (FNOM) letter of June 30th, 2025, which urges the federal and provincial governments to take the following actions: making the resolution of the softwood lumber dispute a top priority in ongoing bilateral trade discussions with the United States, working directly with forest sector stakeholders and municipalities to develop and implement support measures that protect workers, communities, and local economies, publicly acknowledge the urgency of this issue for rural and Northern Ontario, and commit to concrete coordinated actions. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Item 954, moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Ashford. Whereas the Northern Ontario Resource Development Support NORD's pilot program was introduced to help Northern Ontario municipalities address infrastructure pressures resulting from natural resource sector activities. And whereas the funding provided through the NORD's pilot was very well received by the municipal sector, as it delivered timely and much needed financial support to many communities across the North. And whereas the program has allowed municipalities such as the City of North Bay to strategically stack multi-year allocations in order to support large-scale infrastructure initiatives critical to community development and economic growth. And whereas the NORD's pilot program has clearly demonstrated its value and effectiveness in helping northern municipalities address the infrastructure challenges tied to resource development and extraction. And whereas rural and northern municipalities are also facing infrastructure degradation resulting from the increasing size and frequency of agricultural machinery and activity, which is currently outside the scope of the pilot. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Parry Sound strongly urges the Government of Ontario to make the Northern Ontario Resource Development Support NORD's program a permanent fixture of its support to Northern Ontario northern municipalities, and further that the province consider expanding program eligibility to recognize the significant impact that agricultural equipment and operations have on municipal infrastructure, particularly in rural communities. And further, that municipalities encourage to continue utilizing the ability to stack NORD's allocations over multiple years to support the planning and delivery of major infrastructure projects. And further, that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Minister of Northern Economic Development and Growth, Minister of Agriculture, Food and Agribusiness, Minister of Infrastructure, the Minister of Natural Resources, Parry Sound Muskoka MPP Graydon Smith, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association, and the Rural Ontario Municipal Association. Any discussion? No? All in favor then? That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Ashford and seconded by Councillor Keith that bylaw number 2025-7522, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Ashford and seconded by Councillor Keith that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All in favor? And that's carried. So prior to adjourning, I'd like to offer the following information to the public regarding the next council meeting. The next meeting of council for the town of Parry Sound is scheduled for Tuesday, August 12th at 7 p.m. The meeting will be held at the Town of Parry Sound Council Chambers at 52 Sequin Street, entrance via Gibson Street, be live streamed and recorded. All regular council meetings are held at 7 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month, except January and August, where only one regular meeting is scheduled. Council meeting schedule, notices of special council meetings, complete agendas and minutes, and instructions on accessing live streamed and recorded council meetings are all posted on the town's website. Go to www.parrysound.ca and use the search bar